Good morning students. In this video lecture we will discuss about multi-threaded programming. These are the contents of this lecture. The first one is Java thread model, the main thread, how to create the thread or threads, and then creating the multiple threads using isAlive and join methods, then thread priorities, synchronization, inter-thread communication, suspending, resuming and stopping the threads, obtaining the thread state, and finally using the multi-threading. So these are the contents of this topic. We will see one by one. First we will discuss about Java thread model. The Java runtime system depends on threads for many things, and all the class libraries are designed with multi-threading in mind. In fact, Java uses threads to enable the entire environment to be asynchronous. That helps to reduce the inefficiency by preventing the waste of CPU cycles. The Java thread model is described with the following concepts. First one is single-threaded program or single-threaded application. Second one, multi-threaded program. Third one, thread states, thread priorities, synchronization, messaging, the thread class and runnable interface. So these are the contents we will discuss under the Java thread model. So first we will take single-threaded systems. The value of multi-threaded environment is best understood in contrast to its counterpart, that is single-threaded environment. Single-threaded systems use an approach called an event loop with polling. That means in this model a single thread of control runs in an infinite loop, following a single event queue to decide what to do next. Once this polling mechanism returns with, say, a signal that a network file is ready to be read, then the event loop dispatches control to the appropriate event handler. Until this event handler returns, nothing else can happen in the program. This wastes the CPU time. It can also result in one part of a program dominating the system and preventing any other events from being processed. That means in general, in a single threaded environment, when a thread blocks because it is waiting for some resource, the entire program stops running. So that is the drawback of this single threaded systems. So in this diagram we written one class ABC, then that contains some code like this. It has some beginning, body and then end. It executes the statements sequentially. That means without executing first statement, the control never go to execute the second statement. So that means in single threaded program the statements are executed sequentially one after another. In fact, all programs we written earlier are examples of single threaded programs. So the structure of single threaded program looks like this, that contains some sequential statements. Those are executed sequentially one by one. Then coming to second type of approach, that is multi-threaded system or multi-threaded program. The process of dividing a program into two or more parts and executing those parts concurrently is called multi-threading. The program that supports multi-threading concept is called as multi-threaded program. Multi-threading is nothing but the process of dividing a single program into two or more parts and executing those parts simultaneously is called multi-threading. Multithreading provides simultaneous execution of two or more parts of a same program. A multi-threaded program contains two or more parts that can run concurrently. Each part of such a program is called a thread. Each thread has a separate path of its execution with other threads. So that's why threads are called as lightweight processes, because those are small parts under execution. So that's why those are called as lightweight process. And the threads share the same address space, because the single program contains multiple threads. All those multiple threads uses the same address space belongs to that particular program. In multi-threaded environment, programs makes a maximum use of CPU so that the idle time of CPU can be kept to minimum. That means that reduces the idle time of the CPU, that utilizes the CPU at maximum level. The benefit of Java's multithreading is that mainly that eliminates loop or polling mechanism used in the single threaded program. One thread can pass without stopping other parts of your program. That means if a particular thread is passed because of any reason, no need to stop other parts or other threads of your program. Those parts or threads may be executed as usual. For example, the idle time created when a thread reads data from a network or waits for user input can be utilized elsewhere for executing some other parts. Multithreading allows animation loops to sleep for a second between each frame without causing the whole system to pause. When a thread blocks in a Java program, only the single thread that is blocked passes. All the other threads continue to run. So these are some benefits of using multithreading or writing multithreaded programs. As most traders know, over the past few years, multi-core systems have become commonplace. That means a single computer system having the multi-core processors. Of course, a single core systems are still in widespread use. It is important to understand that Java's multi-threading features work in both type of systems. That means the multi-threading features work in single core systems as well as multi-core systems. In a single core system, concurrently executing threads share the CPU, with each thread receiving a slice of CPU time. Therefore, in a single core system, two or more threads do not actually run at the same time, but those are that kind of execution reduces the CPU idle time. That means CPU is used effectively. However, in multi-core systems, it is possible for two or more threads to actually execute simultaneously. So that means we divide a program into multiple parts, then we go to execute one part in one CPU or one processor, and we go to execute second part in another CPU. So like that we can execute multi-threaded program in multi-core systems. So with that we can improve the program efficiency and increase the speed of the execution of the applications. So diagrammatically the multi-threaded program looks like this. The main thread in Java main thread program that contains three parts or three threads. The first part we taken as thread A, second part thread B, and third part thread C. So that means a single program is divided into multiple parts, and executing those multiple parts concurrently is called multi-threading. While executing these multiple parts of the same program by using CPU. The CPU switches from one thread to another thread. We will discuss some more introduction about multi-threading in Java. So before that, first we will define multitasking. Multitasking is nothing but this is the process of executing multiple tasks simultaneously. That means executing multiple tasks at a time is known as the multitasking. So in Windows operating system, at a particular point of time, we can execute word processor for typing our data, and at the same time we can run one media player for listening some audio, and at the same time we can give some printouts by using printing application. So that means we run total 3 tasks at a time. These 3 tasks are run concurrently. This activity is called as the multitasking. So this multitasking can be achieved in 2 ways. One is process based multitasking, also called as the multiprocessing. Multiprocessing is nothing but multiple programs are executed concurrently is called multiprocessing. So here process is nothing but the program in execution or the program under execution is called as the process. So that type of multiple processes are executed concurrently is called as process based multitasking or simply multiprocessing. Then the second category of multitasking is thread based multitasking. This is also called as the multi-threading. So multi-threading is nothing but multi-threading allows the execution of multiple parts of a program at the same time. These parts are known as the threads. Each part of a program is called as the thread. So multi-threading leads to maximum utilization of the CPU, and also threads share the same address space. That means the same resource is used by the multiple threads. A thread is also called as the lightweight process because this is part of the program, so that's why this is referred as the lightweight. So cost of communication between the threads is low because all the threads of a particular program uses the same address space, so that's why communication among the threads takes the less cost. So diagrammatically, operating system supports multitasking or multiprocessing like this. So in this total 3 processes are there: process 1, process 2, process 3. If we execute these 3 processes at a time, that is referred as the multiprocessing. Then coming to process 1, this process 1 is internally divided into 3 parts as T1, T2 and T3. These 3 parts are called as the threads. So simply thread is nothing but the part of the program that run concurrently with other parts is called as the thread. The statements present within the particular thread are executed sequentially again. So coming to this process 2 contains 2 threads. That means the program is divided into 2 parts. Each part is called as the thread. And also process 3 contains only 1 thread. That means this is called as single threaded program. These 2 are called as multi-threaded programs. Then we'll move to benefits of multi-threading. Using of multi-threading gives several benefits. First one is that improves the performance of the application or performance of the system. Second one, resource sharing. So we divide the program into parts. That means all those parts are uses the same resources. So that's why we achieve the benefit called resource sharing. Then we get the better responsiveness. Responsiveness is nothing but that is the result we get by giving the request. So that responsiveness, is better if you use the multi-threading. Then utilization of multiprocessor architecture. That means multiprocessor architecture is nothing but if you use a multi-core system, in that if we provide the multi-threading, we can execute the program at very fast, because we can supply one part to one CPU and another part to next CPU. So like that we can execute the program at very fast. And also we get the better economy, because multi-threading allows us to share the same resources. So these are the advantages of using the multi-threading. So next we will discuss about thread states or life cycle of a thread. So simply thread is nothing but the part of the program in execution is called as the thread. The thread is mainly in 5 states throughout its life cycle. One is new or born state, second one is runnable state, the third one running state, fourth one blocked state, and fifth one dead state. So new or born state of a thread is nothing but whenever we create a reference to the or object to the thread, then that state of the thread is called as the new or born state. Then new or born state thread enters into ready or runnable state by the execution of the start method. Then whenever the CPU is available, the ready state thread enters into running state. The running state thread may enters into blocked state whenever we execute wait method or sleep method, or the running thread requires some input from the input device. At that time that enters into blocked state. Then next one is dead state. the when the thread execution is over, that means execution of its statements is over, then the thread it automatically enters into dead state. So these are the 5 states of any thread. That means throughout the life cycle of a thread, the thread is mainly in 5 states. Those are referred as the life cycle of a thread. Then thread priorities. Java assigns to each thread a priority that determines how that thread should be treated with respect to the others. Thread priorities are simply integers or integer constants that specifies the relative priority of one thread to the another. So by using this thread priorities, we can execute a thread that has the highest priority. So mainly Java provides 3 thread priority constants. One is min priority, second one normal priority, third one max priority. We can set the particular priority for a thread by using the method called set priority. Here we use thread name and then set priority by giving some priority constant, either 1 or 5 or 10, or we may use this constant also. By default this thread priority constant is normal priority, that is equivalent to 5. Then next one is synchronization. Because multi-threading introduces an asynchronous behavior to your programs, there must be a way for you to enforce synchronization when you need it. For example, if you want 2 threads to communicate and share a complicated data structure for performing some operation, you need some way to ensure that they don't conflict with each other. That is, you must prevent one thread from writing data into that shared location while another thread is in the middle of reading it. So for this purpose, Java provides the concept called as the synchronization in the form of monitor. Directly, Java does not support the concept called monitor, but indirectly that supports by using the synchronization methods and synchronized methods and then synchronized blocks. Next one is messaging. For establishing the communication between two threads, there is a necessity of sending the messages from one thread to another. So for that purpose, Java provides some methods for providing the communication between the threads. Then two important things for creating the threads. One is thread class, another one is runnable interface. So the thread is the predefined class in java.lang package that is used to create the thread. So another one is runnable interface. This is also present in java.lang package that is also used to create the threads. So this thread class has, these are some important methods. So in detail about these methods we will see later. So in that, the first one is get name, that returns the name of the thread. Then get priority returns the priority of the particular thread is alive, decides whether the particular thread is alive or not. Then join, wait for a thread to terminate. Then run method, entry point for the thread, that means whatever the statements we write within the run method, those are the statements executed by the CPU for a particular thread. Then sleep, suspend a thread, a particular thread for a period of time. Then start, so that makes the thread to enters into the ready state. So these are some important methods of thread class. In detail about these methods we will see later. Then we will move to the main thread. When a Java program starts off, one thread begins running immediately. This is called the main thread because it is the one that is executed when your program begins. The main thread is important for two reasons. It is the thread from which the other child threads will be spanned or created. Often it must be the last thread to finish the execution because it performs various shutdown actions. That means the thread that is executed first is the main thread, and the thread that is terminated last is the main thread. So although the main thread is created automatically when your program is started, it can be controlled through a thread object. To do so, you must obtain a reference to it by calling the current thread method. So this returns the particular thread currently executing. This method returns a reference to the thread in which it is called. For example, if you see this example program, we define one class current thread demo. Within that we define main method. Then we go to call the method current thread with thread class thread.current thread, because this is the static method, so that's why we call this by using the thread class. This returns a reference. That means which thread is presently executing. That thread object is returned into the variable or reference variable t. Then we go to print that thread value by using output statement system.out.println current thread is t. So after some time we go to change the name of the thread, t.setName, we give here my thread. Then after changing the name we go to print the value of t. So we get, this is the output. First with this statement we get the output as current thread, that is main. So here this is the thread name, then this is the priority assigned to that thread, and this is the thread group. Every thread needs to belongs to particular thread group. So here thread group is the main and thread is also main. So then after that we change the name of the thread. Here we get the change name, that is my thread, this is the thread name, and priority 5, and this thread belongs to the group called main. So that is about main thread. So then we will discuss the threads in Java. How to create the threads in Java. The java.lang.thread class is easy to construct and access individual threads in a multi-threaded application. It provides a thread API and all the generic behavior for the threads. These behaviors include starting, sleeping, running, yielding, and having a priority. The task of a thread is defined within the run method. That means the code we want to execute for a particular thread, that code is written within the run method. So next we discuss about creating the threads. How to create the threads in Java. So threads are created mainly in two ways. One is by extending the thread class, another one is by implementing the runnable interface. So these are the two ways for creating the threads in Java. We will see one by one. First we go to see how to create the threads by extending the thread class. The thread is created, or thread class is created by extending the thread class like this: class my thread extends thread. So here my thread is the class that extends from the predefined thread class, and within this class we go to write some code we want to execute for my thread. Then within this class we go to write a run method. So the run method, within that run method we go to write the code for that particular thread. So after that we go to create the object for that created thread class, that is my thread t equal to new my thread. Then we need to make ready to, we need to make the thread to ready to enter into the CPU. For that purpose we need to call the method start, t dot start. This method automatically calls the method called run method. So see the program. So here I define a class A extends thread. That means we use, or we go to create the threads by extending the thread class A extends thread. Simply we need to override run method here, public void run method. So this is the method of thread class. We need to override here. That means class A needs to override here, public void run. Here we write the code for I equal to 1, I less than or equal to 5, I plus plus. Then system.out.println, from thread A we go to print the I value. So after completion of that loop we go to print the exit from A by using output statement. So with that one class creation is over. Then we go to create another class with the name V by extending the thread class. Within that also we need to override run method. So here we use loop control variable j by taking the values from 1 to 10. Then we write the code from thread V, we go to print the j value. After completion of that we print exit from V by using the output statement system.out.println. Then we go to create another class C extends thread. So here we go to override the method called public void run. So here we write again for loop for printing the k value, then exit from C. So like this we need to create some classes by extending the thread class. So by using these three classes we go to create the threads in the main program, or the class that contains the main method. Class thread test, then main method or main thread. We go to create the object for above created classes one by one. A equal to new A. So here this small a is nothing but thread instance or thread instance. So like that B is thread instance of type V, C is thread instance of type C. So like that we need to create thread objects. Then we need to make the ready of the threads. We need to make the threads to enter into the ready state. So that's why we need to call A dot start, B dot start, C dot start. So like that we need to create the threads and we need to make those threads to enter into the ready state. After this, automatically these threads are entered into CPU whenever the CPU is idle. If the thread is present within the CPU, means at that time the thread executes its run method. That means whenever the particular thread is within the CPU, at that time the thread is running the statements present within its method. Okay, so that is the first way of creating the threads. Then second way, implementing the runnable interface. So this is another way for creating the threads. Directly we go to see the program. So here class X implements runnable. So because runnable is the interface, we need to use the keyword implements. So here runnable interface is also contain one abstract method. The class X needs to override that abstract method. So here we override public void run, then we write one for loop for printing the I value, then exit from A. Then class Y implements runnable. So here also we override run method. Then class Z, here also we override run method. Then we go to write the main class that contains the main method or main thread. Within this main thread, we need to create the objects for the above created classes like this: X R1 equal to new X. To make that R1 as a thread, we need to pass that R1 to the thread class. Then the reference of that becomes as the thread. So here R1 is the object created from the X class. We need to pass that object to the thread class. Then that becomes as the thread T1. So like that Y R2 equal to new Y. Then thread T2 equal to new thread R2. So like that we need to create the total 3 threads as T1, T2, T3. Then we go to start the threads, T1 dot start, T2 dot start, and then T3 dot start. So like this we can create the multiple threads by implementing the runnable interface. So these are the two ways for creating the threads. One is by extending the thread class, another one is by implementing the runnable interface. Then choosing an approach, that means either for creating the multi-threaded programs we need to extend the thread class or we need to implement the runnable interface. The preferable choice is implementing the runnable interface for creating the multi-threaded programs is the preferable one, because if we create a class by extending the thread class, then we cannot extend some other class because Java does not support multi-threading. In that case, if we create the thread class by implementing the runnable interface, if we want to extend some other class, that is possible. So that's why better approach for creating the threads is implementing the runnable interface. Then life cycle of a thread. So during the lifetime of a thread, the thread is mainly in 5 states: new or born state, runnable state, running state, blocked state, and dead state. So this is the diagram of a life cycle of a thread. Whenever we create a thread object that enters into new or born state, that new or born state thread enters into ready or runnable state by the execution of start method, or that enters into dead state by the execution of stop method. So the new or born state enters into ready state by the execution of start method, then that may enters into running state whenever the CPU is idle. At that time the thread is within the CPU by the execution of its run method. The running thread may yields its execution by the execution of yield method. The yield method is nothing but simply giving the or voluntarily giving the chance to execution chance to some other process or some other thread. That means a particular running thread wants to give the chance to some other thread. That running thread needs to execute yield method for giving the chance to some other thread, and that running thread enters into ready or runnable state. Okay, so the running state thread may enters into blocked state by the execution of the methods suspend, sleep, wait, or the running state thread may require some input from the keyboard. At that time also that enters into blocked state. The blocked state thread may enters into ready or runnable by the execution of resume or notify method, or sleep time expires, or the reading of in from the keyboard is over. At that time that automatically enters into ready or runnable state. From that point that may enters into running state. So the blocked state thread may enters into dead state by the execution of stop method. The running state thread or the running state thread may enters into dead state by the execution of its statements are over. Whenever the statements belongs to a particular thread are completed, then that thread automatically enters into dead state. So this is the life cycle of a thread. So next we will discuss about is alive and join methods. So is alive is nothing but if you want to check the particular thread is alive or not, then we need to execute is alive method on that object. That returns true if the thread is alive, otherwise that returns false. Then second method is join method. If the particular thread wants to wait some time for completing the execution of some other thread. That means a particular thread wants to wait some time to finish the execution of some other thread. For that purpose, the thread needs to execute the method called join. So here we will see with example. We create one thread like this, then another thread like this. We created objects, thread objects like this. So to check the thread is alive or not, A dot is alive, B dot is alive, C dot is alive. Then A dot join, B dot join, C dot join. So we execute join method on 3 threads. That means these 3 threads are waiting to finish the execution of main thread. That means these 3 threads waits up to main thread completes its execution. So that is the meaning of A dot join, B dot join, C dot join. If these 3 threads wants to wait some time for completing the execution of main method, these 3 threads needs to execute join method as A dot join, B dot join and C dot join. So then thread priority. So already in previous slides we have seen. So in Java each thread is assigned a priority which affects the order in which it is scheduled. The particular thread is scheduled for running. So for setting the priority we have the method set priority that takes priority constant like 1, 5, 10 or constant min underscore priority, norm underscore priority or max underscore priority. The thread that has the highest priority will taken for execution first. So like this we can create the 3 threads and we can set the priorities by using the set priority method. So for C we give the priority 5, B 10, A 1. So that means for B we give the highest priority, so that means the chance for execution is given to B thread. So this is about thread priorities.